Scent control is an absolute scam. Or is it? Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the hills. If you watched my recent video on the things that you need and the things that you don't need on public land, I said that I would circle back and give my opinions on scent control. And today that's exactly what we're going to do. So full disclosure up front, I do not use any sort of commercial scent control. I'm a firm believer in hunting the wind. And today I kind of want to touch on why it is that I believe that, why I believe that scent control is more of a commercial marketing ploy than anything else, and some things that you can do to become a better whitetail hunter. So before we can really get into debunking scent control, we first have to understand how a whitetail deer works. There have been studies upon studies upon studies that show that deer have hundreds of millions of scent receptors, more than most dog breeds, and way beyond anything that we can comprehend. They live and they die by smell, plain and simple. That's how they identify predators, it's how they identify food sources, it's how they identify other deer. Basically, a deer's nose is its entire security system. So this idea that we're just going to completely erase or eliminate our human odor and defeat a deer's nose is optimistic at the very least. Can you reduce your scent? Can you maybe mask it a little bit? Sure, absolutely. And we'll get to that here in a moment. But the thought process of we're going to completely eliminate our scent and fool a deer's nose, it's just not happening. What people tend to forget is no matter how much scent control you are implementing, whether you're washing your body in these scent-free soaps, or you're spraying down before you leave the truck and head to the field, or maybe you're spraying down every 15 minutes, regardless, the human body is constantly producing odors, whether it's through sweat, through the pores on your skin, through your breath, your eyes produce scent. Everything on the human body produces scent. This entire ecosystem of the world was set up in such a perfect way that an animal such as a deer, who is an animal that is predated on round the clock, not just during deer season, there are constantly things going after deer. It is set up to have a little bit of an advantage over us as the predator by being able to smell these things that we are constantly producing, no matter what type of sprays or soaps we use. Now let's be real for a minute. Hunting in general is hard. It's really hard. And some would say deer hunting takes it to even another level, because you're having to deal with things like frigid cold temperatures, long waits of boredom, and an animal that absolutely destroys us when it comes to his senses. It can be frustrating. It can be the most rewarding thing in the world. It can be all of these emotions. And at the end of the day, most hunters, not all hunters, but most hunters are looking for a shortcut to get from point A to point B, which is a deer in the back of the truck. Scent control companies know this. They thrive on it. They have built a multi-million-dollar business on the simple fact that the human mind wants a shortcut to get through the hard things in life. But the truth of it all is there are zero shortcuts in hunting. And honestly, if there were shortcuts in hunting, it wouldn't be worth it anymore. Those grinding days, the days where you're spending hours on stand in the freezing cold, wondering if it's even gonna happen, that is what makes success so sweet in the deer woods. There is absolutely zero magical cure that makes deer hunting harder. No scent spray, no soap, no charcoal suit, no ozonics, electronic doodad that these guys use. None of it works. And what's crazier than all of that is you can actually make those things at home for cents on the dollar if you really wanted to. Now, before you start going getting all bent out of shape saying, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, I've been using my XYZ sprays and soaps for years and I've never been busted by a deer. Truth is, you've either gotten lucky or there's been another factor involved. And B, I'm not saying scent control is completely pointless and useless. There's going to be situations where minimizing your scent to the best of your abilities is actually crucial. And I take a lot of my trapping ideals and implement it into deer hunting. But let me give you a few examples. So some of those examples would be if you're, let's say, walking through high grass to your setup and you know that you're going to potentially be crossing a route that a deer uses, or you're actually using the same access that you're expecting the deer to use, or anything of that nature, you're going to want to try to do something for scent control. Now, that does not necessarily mean using a spray or a soap. It could mean something like establishing a path before you even start the season off, or avoiding certain areas along the path because you know you're going to make contact with your clothes or your skin or whatever it could be. Rubber boots to an extent, but be thinking while you're actually making access into these points with this thick cover of, if a deer crosses this trail, is he going to be able to pick up my scent? How would he? Am I going to rub across a tree? Am I going to walk through high grass? What is going to happen that is going to actually keep my scent in the surrounding area? Some other things I think about, and this is more woodsmanship skills than it is actual scent control, is eliminating as much of me, the hunter, while I'm making sets. I typically always carry my stand on my back for this very reason. I don't like making presets because I think it causes a little bit too much of a disturbance. I'm not saying you can't be successful if you don't preset, but if you are a preset kind of person, make sure when you're going in there, you're not touching every single tree that you come across. If you're trimming limbs and things of that nature, make sure that you're doing something with them other than putting them right where you expect the deer to walk through, because a deer can come in, will come in and smell that, and maybe not necessarily blow straight out of there, especially if we're talking a couple weeks down the road. That usually eliminates scent altogether. But if we're setting up within 2 or 3 days of going in and making these sets, a deer is at the very least going to be alerted. Trappers know this more than just about anybody, because trappers are typically leaving sets right on the ground with the animal that they're pursuing, and they understand that ground scent is just as important, or maybe sometimes even more important, than the actual wind scent. That's debatable, but trappers do understand when you're talking about being at ground level with an animal, there is scent that gets left behind, and you have to do the best of your abilities to be eliminating those scents. Now, like I said, we're always producing scent, but you have to be cognitive of it while you're going in and making these sets and so on. But remember, just because you're going in and trying to eliminate these ground scents, which is great, that doesn't mean your scent is eliminated. From A to B, so truck to stand, yes, you may have been pretty successful on eliminating scent, but as soon as you get set up in that stand, it's game over at that point in time. We're back to hunting the wind, because as soon as I'm sitting on that stand, my pores are releasing and so on and so forth. Everything that I just mentioned is producing that scent and it's catching the wind. So now we're back to the graces of the wind. But at the end of the day, hunting is more mental than it is physical. And I said it in that video on the things that you need on public land, that confidence is key. 90% of all of this is just being confident in what you're doing. So if using scent control makes you feel more confident, like you have more of a fighting chance, please, by all means, do it. You don't have to give up your scent control tactics just because you heard on the internet that, hey, I'm still producing scent, so none of this stuff matters. Because if you feel confident in the tactics that you are implementing, that automatically is going to make you more successful. Maybe not necessarily the reason you are successful, but it is going to pave that path for you to become more successful. But I want you guys to understand that the scent control is not what is creating the success. It might be creating the confidence to lay that foundation, but the truth is you beat them with wind. 100% of 100 times you will not win from scent control alone. You have to implement wind in one way, shape, or form. Whether that's your actual wind blowing away from the animal, your thermals taking it up, whatever it is, you're not going to defeat a deer's nose with commercial, homemade, anything that has to do with scent control. All the other knickknacks that I mentioned, that is just insurance. It is confidence insurance, and it's, if my wind switches for a half a second, maybe it will give me enough time to get the string pulled back on my bow and get a shot before that deer boogies on out of there. But regardless, wind, wind, wind. 100% of the time, wind. So to wrap this all up, I'm not here to bash the scent control users, these guys that live and die by the spray bottle. By no means is that what I'm doing. If it works for you, keep doing it. I mostly want to shine light on the fact that at the end of the day, it is a materialistic world that we are living in, and everybody wants to sell you something. You do not have to have this mentality of, if I don't have money, I can't hunt. Because the truth is, we've been doing this since the beginning of time with sticks, strings, and rocks. Scent control didn't exist back then. All these gimmicks, and some of them truly are gimmicks, did not exist back then. You do not have to have it. The only thing that you have to have is a desire to go out there, the ability to learn and admit when you're wrong, and a development of woodsmanship skills. Once you get a grasp on those three things, the sky is the limit for your hunting endeavors. Learn your wind, learn your terrain, gain your woodsmanship skills, because at the end of the day, true confidence does not come from a spray bottle. I hope you got something good out of this. If you did, hit that like button down below. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Even if you disagree with me, I would love to hear your opinions. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, see you on the hill.